Walt Disney is a man whose vision has brought us classics like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, along with amusement parks which have created happy memories for millions of families across the world. But who is the man behind the smile? Here is the history of Walt Disney. Walt Disney was born on the 5th of December 1901 in Chicago, the fourth child of Elias and Flora Disney. Disney developed an early interest in drawing, as his mother was a subscriber to the Appeal to Reason newspaper, in which Disney would copy the front page cartoons of Ryan Walker. He and his younger sister Ruth started school at the same time at the Park School in Marceline in late 1909, before the family moved to Kansas City in 1911. To earn a little money, Disney's father purchased a newspaper delivery route in which Disney, every morning, would deliver the Times before school and repeated the round for the Evening Star after school. The schedule was exhausting, and Disney often received poor grades after falling asleep in class, but he continued his paper route for more than 6 years. While enrolled at McKinley High School, Disney became the cartoonist of the school newspaper, drawing patriotic pictures about World War I. Then in mid-1918 he attempted to join the United States Army to fight the Germans, but he was rejected as being too young. But after forging the date of birth on his birth certificate, he joined the Red Cross in September as an ambulance driver. He was shipped to France, but arrived in November, after the armistice. He returned to Kansas City in October 1919, where he worked as an apprentice artist at the Pesman Rubin Commercial Arts Studio, where he drew commercial illustrations for advertising, theatre programmes and catalogues. It was while working here that Disney befriended fellow artist Ub Iwerks. In January 1920, Disney and Iwerks were laid off and they started their own business, the short-lived Iwerks Disney Commercial Artists. With business slow and in need of money, Disney began working at the Kansas City Film Ad Company, where he took an interest in animation. While working with the company, Disney learned a lot about animation and came to the conclusion that cel animation was more promising than the cutout method. But he was unable to persuade his boss, so he again started his own business, which would eventually go bankrupt. At the age of 21, Disney moved to Hollywood in July 1923. While in Hollywood, Disney and his brother Roy formed the Disney Brothers Studio, which later became the Walt Disney Studio, to produce films. The company hired Iwerks, and with Disney, created Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, which was distributed through Universal Pictures. Early in 1925, Disney hired an ink artist, Lillian Bonds, whom he married in July of that year at her brother's house in her hometown of Lewiston, Idaho. The marriage is believed to have been happy, and the couple went on to have 2 children. After differences to the rights of Oswald with Universal Pictures, in 1928 Disney and Iwerks developed Mickey Mouse, possibly inspired by a pet mouse that Disney had adopted while working at his Laugh-O-Gram studio, although the origins of the character are unclear. Disney's original choice for the name was Mortimer Mouse, but his wife Lillian thought it too pompous and suggested Mickey instead. As the studio grew, Disney became more adventurous, introducing synchronized sound, full colour, 3-strip Technicolor, feature-length cartoons and technical development in cameras in what would become known as the golden age of animation. The results of Disney's adventurous attitude can be seen in such features as Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs 1937, Pinocchio, Fantasia, both in 1940, Dumbo in 1941 and Bambi in 1942. All furthered the development of animated film. New animated and live-action films followed World War II, including the critically successful Cinderella in 1950, Sleeping Beauty in 1959, and Mary Poppins in 1964. With the success of the Disney company, Walt pondered on building a theme park over several years, and finally, in July 1955, he opened Disneyland in California. In 1965, he began development of another theme park, Disney World, the heart of which would be a new type of city, the experimental prototype Community of Tomorrow, or as we know it, Epcot. Disney had been a heavy smoker since World War I, and in early November 1966 he was diagnosed with lung cancer. On the 30th of November he felt unwell and was taken by ambulance from his home to St. Joseph Hospital, where, on the 15th of December, aged 65, he died of circulatory collapse caused by cancer. His remains were cremated 2 days later, and his ashes interred at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Glendale, California. His remains were not frozen as the popular myth would have us believe. Disney has been described as a shy, self-deprecating and insecure man in private, but adopted a warm and outgoing public persona. He had high standards and high expectations of those with whom he worked. Over his career, Disney won multiple awards, and in February 1960, Disney was inducted in the Hollywood Walk of Fame with 2 stars, one for motion pictures and the other for his television work. Mickey Mouse was given his own star for motion pictures in 1978. Walt Disney remains an important figure in the history of animation and in the cultural history of the United States, where he is considered a national cultural icon. His film work continues to be shown and adapted, and the Disney theme parks have grown in size and continue to attract visitors from all over the world.